Hey GitLab Duo, I need you to help me write a script. I want to process a video file, and what I actually want is to save a screenshot or image into a directory called frames for every frame within the video file. I don't know what language is best for this, so you can choose, but I do ask that you comment the code to help me understand it. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to the Raw Code Academy. I'm your host, David Flanagan, although mostly known across the internet as Raw Code. Today is a fun video. I have the opportunity to play with and explore GitLab Duo. This is GitLab's integrated AI that allows you to write code faster. I've decided that I want to do some processing of my YouTube videos so that I can use AI to generate thumbnails, descriptions, summaries, command extraction, and a whole bunch more. So I figured, let's put these two projects together and see what we can come up with. The first step was just to write some script that will generate images from every frame in a video. You've already seen the prompt. Let's see the code. Let's take a look. So just before we go through this line by line, I want to clarify that I am by no means a Python developer. I write Python a handful of times a year and not very well. I also want to point out that none of the tasks that we're going to ask it to do are that difficult to code yourself. And I think that's where AI really excels in the software development lifecycle. Saving you time from things that aren't hard, even if they are a little bit complicated, allowing you to free up more time to focus on novel solutions to more difficult challenges. With that being said, let's see what we got. So I asked GitLab Duo to generate me some code. It doesn't specify a language. It decided that Python was a good decision because of the OpenCV library. And in retrospect, I completely agree. It was a fantastic decision, so thank you. I asked it to comment. Now, the comments aren't that useful, but then the code isn't really that difficult to understand. So I can kind of forgive it for that. As we give it more complicated tasks, hopefully it'll be able to elaborate on these comments a little bit further. However, we can see that it's kind of divided our task up into three major steps. One, a little bit of preparation. First, you just configure where the video lives, and then create or ensure that a frames directory exists. It then opens the file and immediately starts to loop through reading it frame by frame. The last task is to save each of those frames as a JPEG. This is really easy with OpenCV, but would I have been able to write it as fast as GitLab Duo did? No chance. So let's make our first improvement. This is nice, but I don't like the hard-coded video.mp4, even though that is the name of our file. Let's assume we're going to be able to run this on any arbitrary file within my machine. Now, again, I'm not a Python developer. I don't know how to write a CLI with Python. I don't even know how to process argv. I'm hoping GitLab Duo does. So let's take a look. Let's try and be bold. Let's select everything, come over to our chatbot, and let's say we factor this into a command line application. We want to ensure that the file name can be passed in by the user. Type in its code. There we go. So let's copy this and replace. All it's done is tell me or show me, educate me that we can use sys.argv with a positional indicator, in this case 1. I'm assuming 0 is going to be the entire command line. And it's even telling me how to use this, which I think is a useful comment. So Let's add this to our code. Now, we haven't actually run this code yet, so maybe now is a good time to test it out. So here we are in the terminal. We're going to run Python, frames.py, followed by video.mp4. Now it occurs to me that we don't really have any print statements, so there's a lot of assumptions about whether this is actually running. So let's confirm that by splitting our pane and opening in Finder. And right away, we can see frames directory. And if we just show this in preview mode, we can see the ticker scrolling along the top as we run through hundreds, and I'm sure thousands of frames. Given that this video is probably about an hour and a half long at a minimum, at 60 frames per second, that is a lot of frames. But we'll let the script get there. And I won't bother going through it anymore. So our script does work. So let's use some movie magic and come back in a moment when our frames are rendered. Okay, so that is now finished. It did take a little bit of time, but we did get 171,000 frames. So that's 60 frames per second for a little over 100 minutes. Now, we don't want to spend a lot of time during this video waiting on my computer or cheating with movie magic. So we're going to limit this to not save every single frame. And of course, we're not going to do this manually. We're going to ask GitLab Duo. So let's say, instead of capturing every frame, let's capture one frame every 10 seconds. All right, now we have some updates to our script. Now, we're not going to copy and paste all of this and put it over the top because we've been making modifications. We've got comments, we know how to run the command, and we can see here that it's went back to hard coding or video.mp4. So we're just going to select the things that we need. Now we can see that it imports math, so let's bring that in alphabetical order. And we can see that it gets the frames per second after the video capture. So we're going to store that as FPS2. We then have a frame interval that we wish to configure. For us, that is 10. We want to skip 10 times the frames per second for one image every 10 seconds. We're then just going to grab this if statement and indent our code. This time, we only save the JPEG when we have a round 10-second frame. So let's go back to our terminal. I'm going to remove our frames directory, which in itself may take a little while at 170,000 frames, and rerun our script. And hopefully for the last time, we'll be back in a moment. Okay, let's take a look inside of frames, piping it, WC, and we can see that we're now working with 572 files. This is a lot less than 170,000. This is something we can work with on a local machine. So let's go back to VS Code. Now, my mission here is I want to take these 600 frames, and in fact, let's pop them open before we go back to GitLab Duo and take a look at our preview. Now that it's only 600, we should be able to get an overview, at least a broad overview, of what happens on this stream. We've got people, We've got Kubernetes commands, a whole bunch of YAML, goes on and on and on. We've got comments from the audience. We've got lots of journal D, system D commands. I think we can have some fun with this for sure. Now, wouldn't it be cool if you were watching an episode of Clustered and we could give you a list of the commands that were executed on the episode, provided they were important or useful? It would also be nice if we were able to extract and highlight the error messages. Now, of course, we could do this all with manual work, but we live in the age of AI. We're using AI to write more AI. So can GitLab Duo help me interact with other AI models to remove the laborious and tedious tasks of watching every single episode to describe, find text, and error messages, logs, and commands? I sure hope so. And we're about to find out. So I really have no idea what the best approach here is. We could continue using OpenCV, which I do think has text capabilities, OCR, or maybe we need to start shipping these images to other AI models. Let's just GitLab Duo. I want to extract all the text from the generated images. What is the best way to do so? All right. So it is suggesting we use Tesseract, which runs OCR against the images. All right. And seems like a good first approach and has given me some code. We'll test that code in a moment, but let's ask it a follow-up question. Would it be easier or better, better is a terrible word, or more accurate to send these images to an AI model? In fact, let's make it a bit more specific. And let's just say to OpenAI's API. And it says, yeah, okay. Can I have code to do that? Please remember to be nice to our AI overlords. Oh, not enough details? All right. Let ask our question again and keep our context. Provide the code. Do so. No, please, because it made me ask twice. Awesome. And now we have code to interact with OpenAI's image to text API. That is very cool. So let's try both approaches and see how we get on. Let's copy the code from the PyTesseract and call this local image to text and paste it in. This wants a single image. So right away, we need to make some modifications because we are going to have to loop over a directory. However, to test this, maybe we will hard code one image and see what the results look like. And we'll also do the same with the OpenAI code. So we'll call this remote image to text. And now we have two scripts that we can work with, both of which want a single image. Then we'll ask it to change the code. So let's find a suitable image. So if we go back to the terminal, open frames and Finder, let's scroll to close my eyes here. Dreadful. Although we do just want to get text, to be fair. All right, okay. Here we have some good text. We have some pod output at the top. We've got some hidden with the crash loop backoffs, you can't actually see a complete version of that, except for maybe the top right. I'm curious to see if the remote model, OpenAI, would be able to inject some knowledge into that. And we have a command, and I have one error message about daemon set cilium not found. I really want to know if we can start to process this with local OCR and remote. This image, this frame here, 34200. And why can I not copy that image name? I have no idea. Well, Mac just doesn't want me copying image names. All right. 34200. 4200. All right. So let's start with low. I think that makes a lot more sense. Paste our comment. Do ls frames. And the format is frames frame 34200.jpg. Easy. We open it, we get the text, and we're going to print it. I guess there's only one thing to do. Run our local script. That was a face of pure joy. That is done really, really well. Awesome. But generally just impressed that I haven't written a single line of code myself, and we're doing OCR against frames generated from a video file. Such a great time to be a developer. Okay, I'm so happy with the local text, and I know it's going to be a lot faster than using OpenAI to process 600 images, that we're just going to go with local. So we're going to update script to loop over all the frames, grab all the text, and save it to a text file with the same name as the frame. Then we're going to get GitLab do to send that text to OpenAI to try and help us understand all the text that we've found. Okay. Update this code to look through every image within the frames directory and scan for text. All right, so it's telling me that we can use a glob. Like so, we can remove this. Then we open this. I don't think anything else has to change, but now we don't want to print the text, but instead printing the text, save it with the same file name, but with a text extension. All right, so it's broken it down into tasks for me. Oh, we've got this import statement that we're going to need. That's not changed. This hasn't changed. Now we're getting a base name. And then we write. Oh. That it? Oh, these imports are separate. Let's fix that. We got that one. Oh, we got that one. All right. I like them in alphabetical order. Thank you very much. So, glob the frames directory, get the base name, do the OCR, write it to a file. Could not be more simple. Okay, before we run this, which I'm sure we could do and it would work just fine, let's take a look at some of the quick actions provided by GitLab Duo. Here, we can ask GitLab Duo to refactor our code. Let's see what we get. So here's one way to refactor the selected code. It has now broken it down into individual tabs, which we'll take. Right, so we have one function, image to text, where we loop over the globe. Perfect. All right. I think we can refactor this further. Let's see. Image to text seems to do more than one job. Can and we refactor further? Yes, we can. Thank you. Well, let's copy this code. So now we've got our for loop over glob. We get the base name, open a file, we extract the text, and we save the text. This I'm quite happy with. So let's see if we can run it. So we run our local image to text. And if we look inside frames, all we have are JPEGs right now. So local, and we'll split this. Oh, do we have any text files yet? No. Wow. All right. Let's kill that and make sure we write it to the same directory. So save text, file name. Uh, so we just need this to use our frame dir. And we'll delete all .text files. Python, local, ll, frames. And let's just rg. And now we're getting our text files. So I'm not sure how long it's going to take to run an OCR and 600 files, but let's just get by the bottom bit. All right, so that's now finished. And we have our 572 text files. What we want to do is start to send these to OpenAI to do command extraction, error message extraction, and maybe we'll think of something else along the way. So let's start chatting to GitLab Duo. We need a script. Let's batch up all the text files within the frames directory. We need to ensure that each batch does not surpass the 128K token limit of GPT-4 Turbo Preview. Let's send each batch to OpenAI and ask it to extract command and error messages and print them to the screen with a discriminator. Oh, we're getting the script. One do keep me happy. So we need, let's call this OpenAI text discovery.py. All right, so we are importing OpenAI Glob in OS. We still have a frames directory. We have a max token limit. We know now that we can do gate NV, OpenAI token. This is what it gave us before. We've already imported OS. Now it's creating batches. So it's using the glob, looping over, reading the bytes, concatenating the bytes, and oh yeah, and we have a check here to make sure that no batch goes above the token length. When we have the batches, it's then enumerating over them, sending a completion to DaVinci 03, which will change the model, with a prompt to extract commands or error messages from the text, with a print statement at the end. So it's not filled everything. I asked for a discriminator. That was maybe a bit of a long shot, but we'll tweak it to our needs. We do, however, want to use GPT-4 Turbo Preview. Now, this is using the completion API. I'm not that familiar with OpenAI stuff, but I know there's instructions, completions, and chat. I felt maybe we'd use chat, but I guess if this is a one-time thing, not a big deal. And I really just want to run this and see if it works. So we've changed the model because we need the context size with the large amount of max tokens. Max token response, I guess we're only asking for this. I'm going to bump this up. I don't know what the normal value is, but let's just throw it up anyway. And then we'll print the batch and we'll see what we get back from the API. No idea right now if this is going to work. Oh, so that's the bit I broke. We run it again. Okay, so OpenAI completion is no longer supported. So we either have to downgrade or fix this to use the correct API. Okay, so just in the interest of time, and I'm not sure how up-to-date GitLab Duo's code samples are, I did just from the OpenAI docs grab this. So I know I said I wasn't going to write a line of code, but I'm just going to make my life easier for the next few minutes. And we're going to do from OpenAI import OpenAI. And it feels, from what we've seen in the error message and what I've seen as a quick Google there, just that this API has changed drastically for the 1.0 release. And I don't feel it making it too difficult for GitLab Duo. But now that we have the right import, we can create our client like so. And if I had called this the right key, I wouldn't have to actually do this bit. But mine is an OpenAI token. And we can remove this. And then we have our completion code here. So how close were we? Client, chat, completions create, messages. All right, this format's different. Role. User, content, f-string, like so. And the model, we're not using that one, so that's okay. And if we don't need to set that, then let's not bother. And we're going to add a break here, so we just do one batch and see the response. Let's see if that helps things along. Ooh. Oh, come on. Give me some commands and error messages. Oh. All right. Okay, I think I know what this is. Now, because we changed this API here, I wonder what the response is actually going to be. Let's do what I do remember. The only thing I remember from my Python days is that we could do ppprint response. We'll just comment this line out just now. I just want to know what we're going to get. All right. We have stuff and things. I mean, we get an error message saying that it can't do what I want it to do. But we're going to tweak our prompt. So we got a chat completion, choices, choice, message, contents. All right. It looks like it's this, 0, and it's not text. It is message content. And I guess we can do that. Maybe. Again, my Python is abysmal. Okay, and then let's tweak the prompt so we try not to get an error message. So let's try and tell it what we want it to do is extract anything that looks like a Linux command or error message from this text. And it's already slow, which is a good thing we didn't use this for the image to text, right? All right, so we still got that choices message. So I wonder if we could just paste that in. Help me out. What does, oh, how do I fix this? All right, so it says that this is happening because it is an object. Oh yeah, okay, so choice is 0. And I wonder if that's going to be the, yeah, message content. And could do. I'm sorry, but I cannot execute or parse Linux commands or error messages directly. If you have specific questions or needs about Linux commands, Kubernetes content, or error messages, feel free to ask. Right, so it seems to be struggling. Oh, execute. I don't say execute. Ah, okay, so I think we've hit some sort of safety filter where it thinks I want it to execute commands. So we're going to change our language. We'll give it more context. This is the output from my terminal after executing some Linux commands. And what was good is it said Kubernetes, and we hadn't mentioned Kubernetes yet, so it's definitely understanding what's going on. Can you tell me what commands I executed and what error messages I received? Take 20. Feeling pretty positive about this one. Awesome. So, awesome. Okay, so it's definitely doing what we want now. We bypassed that filter about executing commands, and we got a ton of information. Let's see if we can get this in a structured format. Return your answer in a structured JSON format. Oh, so cool. All right. We have JSON, we got all the executed commands and the outputs, which we didn't even ask for. We can see PS, AUX, grepper for API, we get the response, we got kube control describe daemon set cilium, we get the response. We got some system controls, and then we have a whole bunch of error messages down there. That is phenomenal. Thank you so much, GitLab Duo and OpenAI. Phew. Okay, let's go back to GitLab Duo. I need some more help. I need a function that creates an in-memory SQLite database connection. Boop, boop, boop. All right, let's put our import to the top. Now we have a create memory database. I'll take it. It's telling me how to use the database. So let's put this into our main bit of code. So before we start our batching, let's get our connection to the database. Now I need a schema to store command and their output associated with a live stream. Let's see what we get. All right, looks like we're not getting the schema in SQL format, so let's follow up. And I have this in SQL. Please and thank you. Let's copy this. Let's just store this in main.sql. Now it's already inserting. We don't need an insert. It's actually not give us any information about a live stream. I would like the commands associated by foreign key to live stream. All right, let's grab our new version. So now we have a live stream, which has an ID, a name, a start and end time. Perfect. And we have commands, primary key, integers, date, time, etc. So now we have a valid schema. Let's write this to our database connection. How do I apply my schema, which I've stored in main.sql, to the in-memory SQLite connection. All right, so the bit we need is can then execute with our open. Like so. So we open the file, we read it in, and we do an execute. Perfect. Now what we want to do is parse this response instead of printing it and generate insert syntax to our database. How hard can that be? So when we printed out this, I noticed that we got a markdown style wrapper on our JSON. So we'll write a Python function to remove code block from a string. The code block may contain a language such as JSON. This should be removed too. All right, so we got two versions. So that's removing the entire code block. Yeah, we don't want to remove the entire code block. I want the code, but not the wrapper. Please just remove JSON and from the end. I'll take it. All right. So let's put this new function towards the top and move our import further up. I'm not entirely convinced this is correct. I need this code to be tested. So let's select it and say, give me test. And it looks like we have a whole bunch. Let's call this code wrapper test.py. So it's importing the bits. It's running a test against JSON hello world. Let's make sure it takes them off the end too. Oh no, it's got test cases for that. Okay. Remove opening tag. Oh, that's pretty neat. The fact that we got it actually, it hasn't just written a bunch of tests, it's written specific tests. So we got opening tag, closing tag, both tag, no tags. Perfect. Okay, so let's bring back our code. And now what we want to do is call remove code wrappers, our response, so that we get some sort of JSON. Like so. How do I parse JSON to a dict in Python? JSON loads. Thank you very much. So now, parse this, and we probably should call it JSON string. I'm sure there's an import JSON. Yeah. So let's import JSON. And now we can print our dict data, which should have You know what? I don't remember. Let's run. Oh, we don't want to run our test. All right. So our output gives us a list under executed commands. So let's copy this structure. All right. Let's get some help writing this to our SQLite. Let's say, assuming the following JSON payload, right? A Python function to look over executed commands and insert the command into a SQLite table. All right, what have we got? Oh, we already have a connection. So for command and our dict data, execute a command, insert into commands command. Let's just check our schema. Commands command, perfect. Values command, commit, and close. All right, now we want to be able to confirm this, so we're going to make one more change to our script. Change this connection from memory to local file. Let's see how far we get. Python, open. Down. What'd I get? What'd I get? Oh, it's con. Con. Oh, no, it's because this creates cursor. And I didn't think that was important. My fault, GitLab. My apologies. One last try. Well, let's open Beekeeper Studio. Where we can say SQLite. Here's file. Navigate my huge directory structure. Video enrichment service. RamesDB. Open command. And there we have it. Awesome. So that was a journey. But I barely wrote a single line of code. Using GitLab Duo, we were able to write a ton of Python code. First, processing a video file and saving all the frames as JPEGs. We then looked over all those JPEGs, extracting the text. We sent this text to OpenAI, where it classified commands and error messages as well as the output for the commands, which we didn't even ask it to do. GitLab Duo then wrote test cases for functions that parsed and removed code blocks, and provided a database schema and inserted our data into the database for us. Not bad for under an hour's work. That is a fairly chunky task made easy by the power of AI and GitLab Duo. So go forth. Get yourself some GitLab Duo and make your life a whole lot easier. Have a great day.